Hello, welcome
Hi everyone.
to
Uh,
Golden
Welcome to
Talkies. Is that what we're calling it?
that's our working title. We will change it because it is probably not very good. But
Maybe.
if you
Man,
think
I
of anything
I
better,
still think that Jimbo and Donkey chat shit for a bit was a better title,
it
personally.
was a solid gold title, but not quite a golden talkie.
Golden Talkie. All right. So
Exactly.
what are we doing in this podcast? Jamie. We should
So on
introduce
this,
ourselves first.
oh yeah. So
Um,
I'm Jamie, occasionally known as Jim Bob, Jamcar, the Jimmy Jammer, and
all the
other
above.
names.
Duncan.
Hmm?
Yep. Should we?
Wow,
That
only
was good,
one name
wasn't
for
it?
yourself. Disgusting.
Donkey, Dunkster, Big Dunk,
Hmm.
Big
Yeah,
D. No one calls me that. Um,
one day.
so well, we need to avoid radio silence here.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fantastic, Duncan. You're doing
should
a great job.
should we? I've been on the radio, man. I was
You
on my
have.
flatmate's radio show. Well,
All
radio,
right,
student
so
radio. You know.
Duncan, what are we doing on this delightful podcast we've made?
Well, on this delightful podcast we made, we were watching a film that came out 50 years ago this week,
Exactly.
and then
Yeah,
we are
exactly 50 years ago
talking about
today.
it, and probably
Hmm.
talking about a bunch of other shit as well.
Wow, that's
So
going way on the remit.
why are we experts, Jamie, on films that are 50 years old?
We aren't, is the short answer. You are almost done with a film studies degree, and I have no qualifications whatsoever.
I
Sure,
think I
we'll
find
love to hear our opinions.
the degree is film and visual culture, Jamie. I'd like you
Oh, I'm
to
sorry.
refer to it as the full title. Yeah, we are totally unqualified. But you know what?
Hmm.
When you're in lockdown, you
I'm very
gotta do
bored.
something. I'm very bored,
Yeah,
and
so we're going
that's
to remind ourselves of better times, like
better
the seven
times, like the 1970s when we were just young whippersnappers,
young sprots,
young sprouts. That's right.
glimmer in the
So
milkman's eye.
something I just wanted to say quickly. I was kind of
Hmm.
wondering why you decided to do this with me because I remember when we were having dinner a few years ago, and then
Yeah.
you asked me a couple of questions, or you're talking to me, and I gave a couple of shit responses, and you chastised me for being very bad at conversation, generally.
Yep. Yep.
So
Yeah.
what was the what was the thought process of man? I
I
should.
figured you deserved a chance to redeem yourself.
Oh, okay, good,
You're the one who
good.
suggested we do
And
this podcast.
was I?
So, yes, you were.
Oh, okay,
It was
fair
the
enough.
idea. You're the guy who said we should do it.
Well, I'm glad you gave me the chance because there's
Thank
nothing
you.
better than putting yourself up on the internet for everyone to
All three of you. And that's an ambitious
judge.
guess.
Oh, 3 years? I don't know. Are you gonna be sharing this on Facebook and getting everyone to
No.
listen to it? No.
I'm not even sure if I'm going to listen to it, frankly.
Well, I mean, you don't have to listen to it. You're part of it.
I'm here. I'm in the
Yeah.
moment.
Oh man. So
Anyway,
my
would you like
microphone.
to...
Oh,
hmm
well, I was just gonna sort of warn that my microphone's pretty bad, and it's
Yeah,
making
I'm sure they can tell.
a lot of whenever I laugh, it's gonna make quite a loud crackling noise. So this is a
This
professional.
is a no-joke podcast.
This
We're
is a
not going to have
professional
any fun.
podcast.
Hmm
We're very experienced. So what's the
Exactly.
film for today, Jamie?
What delightful film will we be discussing today? It is a masterwork, I think most would agree, called Getting Straight,
Getting
which was
straight.
the 13th of May, 1970.
That's today.
So, yeah, exactly 50 years ago, as is
Exactly
the
50
premise
years
of the
ago.
show.
So I thought
Incredible.
we could start by just talking about the general sort of context. Did you hear that, by the way?
I did hear that. Fantastic.
That
I'm
is
sure
amazing.
everyone wants to hear
Okay,
these audio issues.
give me 1 second while I
All right, well, I'll
fucking
just
mute
discuss.
Facebook. Well,
So, the plot of Getting Straight is about a master's student in the 1970s who used to be in the Big War, i.e., Vietnam.
the
But he's
war,
now
the Great
back
War.
to get the greatest war. I don't think any other war has that title, really. I think it just has to
No,
be Vietnam.
the war to end all
Um,
wars. I think so they called
exactly.
it. Yeah.
Famously successful.
So
So he goes back to the university to get his master's degree in
that's
teaching.
right.
Uh, he's a real cool cat.
Yes,
Very clever, very smart, but he's being kept down by the establishment.
he is.
So he's trying to get his teaching degree, but he's caught between two generations because obviously it's the 70s, or more accurately the 60s because it was recorded in the 60s.
That's
So there's a
technically
student
correct.
protest going
Yes.
on and everything like that. They're saying that racism is bad and lots of other controversial
Controversial
political
topics.
stances.
So
So between his activist ideals of the younger generation and his need to conform with the older generation,
yeah,
and antics ensue on this
exactly,
delightful university campus.
exactly. And
Mhm.
I'm sure we'll get into detail and all that. It's super detailed stuff about all that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So
My plot summary proves that I'm
that
really
was
good at
good.
remembering
That was
things.
good. That was really good. So
Thank you.
I thought first of all we could start by talking about like the historical context, what was going on at the time. So
Yeah.
I looked up the like the date, the headlines for the date, and I found
Oh,
this
really?
website.
Nice.
I found this website. Take me
Mhm.
back to takemeback.to. And that's today's sponsor. So shout out. No, it's not. It's not. But it was an interesting website. It had what the sky looked like, where all the stars were and stuff, which was
Wow.
not
Nice.
at all relevant. But yeah, so it had all the magazine covers and stuff. So
Hmm.
the Time magazine cover for that week was all about the invasion of Cambodia.
Cool. That worked out
Did
well,
you know about
right?
that? Yeah,
I didn't
well,
know about that.
I didn't really know about it. I looked it up. It was kind of just part of the war. Like I think the
Yeah.
U.S. were there for like 2 months and then they pulled out. So
Cool.
I think it was like a leadership
Wait,
change and
isn't
they
that the
were.
place where Henry Kissinger did that massacre?
I
Uh,
don't know. You
cool.
maybe.
We're
Man,
very well
I don't
researched.
know shit about history. I'm glad you've
Great.
researched this so well. But
I have.
basically, it seemed that there was a change in power and the U.S. wanted to get in and make sure that they were supported and all
Mm.
that kind of usual shit. So then within Time magazine, there was an article, right? Guess
Yeah,
what it
yeah.
was titled?
Communism,
Pr-
it's bad.
more similar to the film that we're discussing.
Oh, something about student protest goes
It
awry.
was protest
Wasn't the...
season on the campus.
I was about to
Protest
say,
season
wasn't the
on the
Kent State
campus.
Massacre only a little bit after this film? Uh,
Again, Jamie, my
your
my,
research is fantastic. Okay, well, there were a
my
lot of student protests
histo-
at the time. That's all we're
yes,
saying.
there were a lot of protests at the time, and I couldn't read the whole article, but there was this like quote by Nixon in it, and
Oh,
I
nice.
managed to find the full quote in the New York Times. I
Cool.
really did my research here. I went deep.
Thank you.
So he said, "You see these bums, blowing up the campuses.
Yeah.
Listen, the boys that are on the college campuses today are the luckiest people in the world, going to the greatest universities, and here they are burning up the books, storming around about this issue. You name it. Get rid of the war, there will be another one. Then out there we have kids who are just doing their duty. They stand tall and they are proud. I'm sure they're
Mm.
scared. I was when I was there. But when it really comes down to it, they stand up, and boy, you have to talk up to those men. They are going to do fine, and we have to stand in back of them. We have to stand in back of them. I don't know what that means, but yeah. So I thought that was
Yeah.
quite
What a
a
nice man.
what a
I wonder what
lovely
came of him.
man. What came
Yeah.
of him? I don't
I
know, man.
suppose an interesting thing to talk about in this film is that there's this perpetual threat of the draft if you flunk out of school, at least
Yeah,
for them.
that's true.
Elliot Gould's character, Harry Daly, who I shall now address as such, has this best friend named Nick, and he's got a wacky subplot where he tries to sort of dodge the draft throughout the film.
He does. He does by being
Surprise!
gay,
It's kind
right?
of he pretends to be gay. He pretends to become a Buddhist. He joins the Marines, which is, in
Yeah,
my opinion, the funniest joke in the entire film.
that was pretty funny.
Um,
And okay, so okay, quickly talking about this character.
yeah.
Was he supposed to be Native American, or was that one of his? Was that one of
No, that was
his?
one of his schemes, I
Right.
think.
Okay. I missed that. I missed that because I kind of they were in like the airport, right, or something like that, and he was like,
Oh yeah.
"I'm Native American.
Like
You've
you took
oppressed
our
my
land from
guys
us.
for
Yeah.
generation." I was like, "Is this guy supposed to be Native American?" Because
I
I'm
think
kind
his
of
defining characteristic was high, in a way that is honestly kind of alarming, like non-functional.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
It was
yeah.
interesting. That was an interesting character, for sure.
But yeah, it's just this idea that if you flunk out of school, then you will be shipped off somewhere and you
Yeah,
will probably die. Is
exactly.
an interesting
It's
take.
not really something you have to worry about nowadays, is it?
Nah, it's
No,
quite disturbing.
it's quite
Um,
disturbing.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think Nick was my favorite character though, because he was one of the only ones that was funny, and that is my seed of future opinion.
You didn't think the rest of them were funny?
Nah.
No,
Uh,
well, I don't.
but
I found some bits funny
yeah,
for sure.
to move on to maybe the plot of the film itself, Harry Daly is very much a wise guy. He's very smart, too smart for this
Sure,
damn place. But he's
that's
also
true.
really fucking unlikable.
He
Uh,
was an
to
asshole, man.
everyone.
I kind
He
of
absolutely was.
I was trying my hardest to like him, and then
Hmm.
I realized I wrote down because I was taking notes, like a few notes that
Yeah.
I went through, and I wrote down bit of an asshole to be honest at one point because I was just like,
Wait, I
man,
think I
this
wrote
guy
down the exact same thing.
really, yeah, I was like, this guy
Yeah.
is just a bit of an
Where am
asshole
I?
here, you know?
Hold on. Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, I think it was like this guy's actually a bit of shit.
Yeah,
He's spends the entire film claiming to be smarter than everyone else. And in fairness to him, he is usually right. But there's like he
Yeah.
hates the younger students because he feels that they're just acting out of self-identity rather than any sort
Yeah.
of political belief. He hates all the women.
Yeah.
Does not respect any of them, and he hates
Yeah.
all of the teachers because they're not, they're standing in the way. They're being the establishment,
Yeah.
knocking them down.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I would say
So-
the first 40 minutes of this film, in particular, you spend a lot of time with dear Harry Daly, and nothing much really happens.
No.
Just
It
kind of
really
lives
doesn't
his
pick
life.
up. It really doesn't pick
Yeah,
up, does it? Until
I'm going to be honest, I thought the first 40 minutes were boring as shit.
yeah.
It was genuinely painful, and just how little happens of note. I don't know if you had a similar experience.
So I think the big thing that happened of note for me in the first bit was, you know, that drink he has with the ketchup in it.
Oh god, that's horrible. Yeah, I forgot.
That was I think that was probably
So,
the most.
there's like a lunchtime scene where he's talking with his professor, his like favorite professor.
Yeah.
He's the one who loves him, the one who's really trying to get him to nurture. And like he makes a drink with hot water and ketchup, and then
Yeah.
like he squirts like maybe half a glass of ketchup in
Put
the
some
glass,
salt
and he
in
pours in hot water and mixes it around and drinks it straight. It is foul. in a way.
Yeah, I was thinking that looks fucking gross. And then I thought, you know what, people drink Bloody Marys, and that's literally like tomato
Doesn't
juice.
matter about vodka or Worcestershire sauce or like hot sauce or any of the things that make a Bloody Mary good.
Do Bloody Marys have hot sauce in them?
Yeah, most of them do.
Man, I thought it was just like alcohol, tomato stuff, and like
Yeah.
pepper.
Also, like,
but
just to be
I don't know,
clear,
I've never
like-
had one, to be fair.
Tomato juice and tomato ketchup
Are not the same thing. That's true, because the
Are
thing
not
is,
the same thing.
you would go to a bar and you would order a glass of tomato juice, but you wouldn't order a glass of
Can I have some hot
Tomato
water
ketchup.
with ketchup in it? Yeah,
Right.
it's very gross.
yeah. So that was probably the most interesting thing that happened in the first
Yeah,
40 minutes.
There's a very nice montage that opens up the film where you see like all the kids dancing around, and like, well, this is a very busy university campus. That was another thing I noticed. Like, it is chock full of people all the time.
Yeah.
rather than mostly empty, which has generally been my experience.
and it's got that like very like film campus thing of fucking like everyone knows each other, right?
Everyone knows each other, and they're always wandering off somewhere. They're always on
Yeah,
their way. Thing. No
exactly.
one like stands for conversation. They always do that thing where like they talk and then they turn around and like
Too
do a little
busy.
spin.
Yeah, I mean, it made sense for him because he was supposed to be this like busy guy that was stuck
Yeah.
between the establishment and the students. But like everyone is the same. They've all got somewhere to be, apart from when they're rioting, I guess. But you know, like the rest of the
Yeah.
film, they're like they're like shouting at
Gotta
each
fit that
other,
in.
popping about. Whereas I go on campus, you know, and I maybe meet like two people that I know, have like a quick conversation with them, and that's like, you know, that's what you do. So I always
Yeah,
find it interesting in
just
films
say hi.
where like, because I think they said in the film that it's supposed to be like the second biggest university in America or something like that, or like
I didn't hear that. I think it's like a fictitious uni.
I think it is. Maybe not. I didn't really catch anything,
Yeah.
but certainly they sort of said that it was this like huge university thing, and I'm like, man, everyone fucking knows each other in this place. Like, not only do they know him because he's this like character, but they fucking know everyone. It's crazy. I don't know. Maybe he was like staying within his school or something, but yeah.
Anyway, what I was going to say is that the beginning follows around this one apple, sort of gets passed around from
Yeah.
person, and then they all rub it, and then you get your finishing shot where it says the beautiful phrase "Earth sucks, there is no gravity" carved into the apple. With,
Yeah, which is a cool saying.
It is very cool. Do you think it means anything?
I don't really know, man. I was trying to think, you know, like what does this mean? I mean, obviously there's like the literal, you know. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I literally don't know, man.
Well, there's like graffiti all throughout the film that also says "the Earth sucks, there is no
Is
gravity."
there? So maybe
Do you
it's
like the
maybe
phrase?
I don't know. Did you look it up? Did you Google it?
Of course, I didn't Google it. Maybe it's a quote from something.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it right now.
Wow, disgraceful.
You
I'm going to talk. So,
oh, man, I've got
Harry
it.
Daly has, I think, a beautiful mustache, a rich, creamy mustache.
yeah.
Going
He
down
kind
his
of
thing.
had very Borat vibes. I realized after.
He had, yeah. I was going to say,
Oh,
like,
it's-
very early Weird Al Yankovic was the look.
Yes, man. He
Um,
looked like Weird Al Yankovic, like doing a Borat. Like if Weird Al Yankovic did a parody of like Throw the Jew Down the Well or something like that, Like that's
Yeah. I'm
that's
sure
what
Weird Al would love to do a parody of that song in particular.
I doubt he would do parody of For the Don't. Or Kazakhstan is the best country in the world, I guess, if he had more appropriate
More sensitive one.
one to do. I don't
Um,
know. I don't want to offend anyone,
yeah.
but you know, if
So yeah,
okay,
he's got a big mustache, big afro, these thick ass glasses, and then
yeah,
on the poster for the film, which is done in the most horrendous shade of lime green in the
lime
world,
green, yeah,
you get sort of the female lead kind of sewing behind him, and then you get Elliot Gould naked,
yeah,
his outfit with chest hair, and then there's like books all around his junk,
yeah,
which I assume is how they sold this film, and I'm
yeah.
very interested to know if he was ever considered attractive by anyone.
So talking
But,
about lime green,
mhm.
you know that bit where the guy says the lecturer says something about green, like it's all green or something like that,
Oh yeah, he's like green dots, and
and
there's
then
literally a green.
there's a green filter like over him.
Yeah,
What
it's
the fuck
there's
is that
like
about, man?
this film's mostly shot like pretty normally, and then there are just moments where it gets really weird, and I do
I
like it actually
I
a lot.
really like that. I really like that.
Yeah, like
I was gonna
the
say
three
that.
examples that occur to me are there's that bit you're talking about where he says
Yeah,
like green dots, and then it just shows him in green light, and
yeah,
that's it.
exactly.
And then there's one bit where like some people are having an argument around him, and he does like sort of like in cartoons where you have like the angel and the demon.
Yeah,
Sort
yeah, yeah. That was the other bit,
one
man. I
head
had
to
all
the
these
eye,
written
one to the
down,
other side. And
and
then like the final bit where he's like confronted, where like the establishment
I
guy's
know what
trying to
you're gonna say.
like
I know what
force
you're
him
gonna
to
say.
conform, and then there's like the most ridiculous fisheye lens
Fisheye lens
shot
on him. I
in the
fucking
entire
love that,
world.
man. I love that. That kind of
Uh,
thing. Like
the
a
other
lot of
ones are like
people,
kind of subtle. That one is just so
yeah,
out of nowhere.
a lot of people hate it, and I really
Yeah.
like it, especially in a film like this. It's supposed to be a little bit sort of comedic and lighthearted.
Yeah.
I love that kind of stuff.
Uh,
Okay, so
yeah.
just quickly back to the gravity Earth sucks thing. I can't
Yeah.
find anything. I don't know
Cool.
why I went back to it because I didn't find anything. I probably
Nah,
could have
that's
just
nice.
ignored
We
that.
can probably go back to going through the film semi-chronologically, which is what we probably should have been doing.
Well, no, I don't think so. I think we should just
Nah.
talk
Discuss
about
that.
whatever. So
Anyway,
talking
um,
about
mm,
those effects. No, I'm just gonna talk
yeah.
over you. Fuck you. No,
Thank you.
I don't.
Thank you.
Fuck
That's
you.
very good podcast.
I'm talking about camera. The camera work and the editing in the film. I was really nice. I thought
Hmm.
there were all these shots where like the camera like traveled around the room and it like would focus in on something and then out on something else. And I was like,
Yeah.
shit, this is like super advanced stuff. And there's so like the one I'm thinking about in particular is when he goes to the library
Yeah.
after he's like had the argument with Jan, and there's
Oh
this
yeah.
shot where it like focuses on all the different girls, and they're
Mm.
like like one of them's right next to him, and then the same shot like moves and zooms up onto one that's on a balcony, and then it like follows her as she walks and like comes down to one that's sitting up there, and then down to someone that's walking right in front of it. And I was like, man, the choreography on these shots is amazing, and like the focus pulling. I was like, this is impressive stuff.
It is impressive. It's
I don't know what
very,
you
I
thought
could
about
say,
that.
with those three glaring exceptions, it is a mostly pretty grounded film in terms of how it's shot.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
but well,
really,
I don't know. I
where,
feel there were like a good, I would say like seven or eight of these shots that were like fairly long shots with the focus pulling on different
yeah.
things, which is
I was about to say, I think where the film really shines is in moments where he is stuck in a room that he doesn't want to be in with a lot of people who are trying to get
yes,
him to do something he
absolutely,
doesn't want to do,
absolutely,
which starts to happen constantly, and it's always great. It feels really claustrophobic. Like Elliot
oh
Gould's character, Harry Daly, I keep getting mixed up.
yeah,
He's very much a character who tends to fly off the wall when he's put under pressure.
he does.
There's always like this ramp up to these moments where he just starts screaming, and he's always horrible when he screams. But
Yeah, absolutely horrible.
just moments of explosions of emotion, as it were. I was
Yeah,
about to say after the first 40 minutes, which don't really establish anything other than Harry Daly is poor and he's busy.
yeah,
I would say the first really standout sequence for me is when he sits down with that dinner with the conservative family,
yeah.
with his boss.
In the suburbs.
Yeah, exactly, because that's
Yeah,
the first time. Very much the sort of conceit of Harry's character is that he's not quite what would he be? Silent generation greatest. He's stuck between generations basically. He's not quite a
sure.
young activist, but he's not quite old enough to be part of the establishment yet. He's
Yeah,
still got a
yeah,
lot of idealism left in him, even though he sort of is recognizant of the fact that he needs to settle down to something.
yeah,
So the first sequence where I think this is really highlighted, and first this is where the film actually begins to establish a conflict, is the scene where he's just been offered a job by a professor of his guiding students around the campus
yeah,
and established very securely that he's desperate for money. He's been kicked out. He's homeless right now.
Hmm.
And he sort of starts talking about how all these student protesters are just going too dang far.
Yes.
And they're really disrupting everything. Why can't they just ask for good old incremental change? It was good enough for everyone else.
Exactly. Which is interesting.
Yeah, but like I think one of the things that really stood out to me in this film is like obviously it's sort of takes place during this once in a forever just unique political moment, but
Yeah.
you also see just how little has changed in any meaningful way in terms of attitudes that people bring to it. Because very much the attitude of like the establishment figures there is always like, I believe in their causes. I just wish they wouldn't be so dang rowdy about them.
Yeah, that's true. But
yeah.
I almost feel like this is kind of reversed now in terms of university, because you see all these strikes and stuff, right?
Yeah.
With the lecturers, and it's the lecturers that are striking, and it's students that are complaining and saying like we're missing all this teaching, And I wonder if it's a like generational thing where these lecturers now were maybe not this generation, but the one certainly after it, and this generation to an extent, where that's like their kind of mindset. Whereas now, I think maybe because more people are going to uni, or I don't know, more maybe it costs more or whatever, people are expecting more stability. I don't know. What do you think about that?
One of the things that the film does hit on is sort of criticism of youth activism, even though I think it is one that it does, sort of say isn't entirely valid. But I think it does hit on the fact that it's very entwined with personal identity.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think I'm reminded of is there's an interview with ContraPoints where she says that like part of the reason that sort of the spirit of the 60s hasn't revitalized is that in the 60s protest culture was very much entwined with the rest of culture, music in particular. So the idea that it's protest is very much a part of who you are, I don't think is really present in today's society. I think it's very much sort of protesting is a thing you do rather than a part of yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I feel like there is this like need to rebel and go against the establishment, but I feel like it's a lot less sort of violent now, or maybe not violent, but a lot less.
Posting wars.
Yeah, the other thing is that the stuff that people are protesting about now is very different. Like when I came to uni, there were people like camping out on the lawn, and they were protesting like rent, like how high the rent was. And it wasn't like that high, I don't think. Like it was pretty high, but it wasn't like unaffordable, and it was kind of felt like there's just this need to like protest something and like do something.
I think you do definitely see, like, I don't want to be, I suppose the climate strikes would definitely be the biggest analogy
That's
for now.
true. That is true. Yeah.
And you do go to those, and like you do see like people like taking selfies and stuff, which I always feel is a bit distasteful. But I feel that is sort of getting back to that idea of having the culture feed into the protest movement.
Yeah, that's true. That is definitely a big thing. And I mean, the interesting thing, right, is that the people that are in this film and the people that are in real life that were all like protesting all this stuff, they're the boomers now that are fucking up the
one of the weird
environment.
things.
And like, like they fucked everything up and are not listening to people. And I don't understand how you can go from like being one thing to the other, but I guess you do. Like that's Harry's whole character, is that he's like in this sort of transition.
Well, yeah, Harry's ultimate decision is that he belongs with the activists, even if I'm not sure that the film truly endorses that decision, or at least that's not what it felt like to me. I don't know if you agree.
It kind of felt like the end of The Graduate. Where...
Yeah, we'll get onto the ending later. I don't want to get too.
Oh, you don't want to go. You don't want to go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, we'll finish with the ending because that's a very natural place for that.
Wow. Okay, man, you're really structuring this.
I'm very organized.
Professionally.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was gonna say. So Harry definitely is sort of stuck between them, but I feel it is just interesting seeing this idea of this moment in time that's probably never going to happen again.
Is that the police coming for you?
That is the police coming for me.
For your counter establishment protest.
My counter establishment views.
Caught up with you.
So yeah, so I think it's worth stating that throughout a lot of this film, Harry's very, very critical of the student activists. He was previously involved in a lot of much more, I don't want to say legitimate, much more meaningful maybe, or
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, I feel like at this point the civil rights movement has ended. You know,
yeah, as it was. Obviously,
well,
like,
it's sorry, not ended completely, but you know what I mean. Like
yeah, had achieved a very major goal. Had
yeah,
peaked
and
is maybe the best word.
I don't know. I guess. Well, I mean, they were still in Vietnam, as you know, they
Yeah,
invaded Cambodia a few weeks before this film came out. So
yeah.
clearly, that's still going.
So
But
yeah, so Harry's very critical of the student activists. He,
yeah,
particularly at first, he feels they're just sort of doing it so they have something to do.
yeah,
Even throughout the film, he says that it's all about sex,
yeah,
even towards the very end.
yeah,
And that is kind of true because the three things that the students actually protest about are they need co-ed dorms, which
yeah.
is even now, I mean, kind of a ridiculous thing to get violent over. I feel. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just me.
Um.
But
Well, I guess it's kind of like why it's kind of like a arbitrarily enforced kind of
well, that's the
thing.
thing. Like,
I
it's
think
not the
it's more
sort
of
of
a thing.
thing I'd be willing to die for. Let's just say that.
Yes, yes, you're right. You're right. But it does seem like something that is kind of like they don't need to be separated.
Yeah.
But
No, I'm not.
equally, yeah, it's
I'm
not.
not saying I support segregation. It's just
Jamie supports
that came out
segregation.
wrong.
Confirmed.
The second thing is that they asked for like a is it like a Black Studies
Yeah.
class, Black History something?
Okay. Now this is interesting, right?
Yeah.
So I was looking up when I was doing my research on headlines and whatever. There's an article in Life magazine titled "What White Students Think of Black Studies."
Always
Right?
fun.
And
Hmm.
the general feeling seemed to be like a massively supporting it. Like yeah, we
Yeah.
should this should be taught, but they all seem to be worried about this kind of separation that it sort of enhances. Like the if black people are already separating themselves in some way, and then they have this like studies that only they do. Like a lot of them seem to say this is not it's not helpful.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel like even today, like you kind of see this. Like, so what one of them said, like they totally get it because if they were in a foreign country, the first thing they do is like find an American person
Hmm.
or like
That's
whatever. So
good.
it makes sense. And I
Yeah.
think I think you still get this today, where if you go around campus, there are a lot of groups that seem to be congregated around like race or nationality or whatever.
Yeah. Well,
You
I think
know,
that's just a natural instinct, isn't
it
it?
is natural instinct,
To
but
yeah, that sounds
I
really
just I
loud.
find it interesting that people were kind of worried about this, like they were like,
Hmm.
sure, black studies is important, whatever. But if it separates even more, we've just come out of this thing that the civil rights movement where it's sort of become more equal and all this stuff, and then it's like a new separation thing. I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting way of looking at it.
No, I think that's. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's so strange how little changed. Like, the scene that most made me like sort of roll my eyes in a way is like the one where so just to like give some background, the student protests start off very peaceful, but they do
Yeah,
eventually turn violent, and the police are called
yeah,
in like a surprisingly really disturbing scene where they start like getting beaten and dragged off,
yeah,
and like the campus slowly sort of devolves, like barbed wire starts coming out. We
yeah,
talked about how busy it was before, but eventually it's completely empty apart from like soldiers,
yeah,
um, which again very unusual. But sort of like the capitulation that like I guess he's the dean or something, at least like a senior member of staff offers. Like he talks like I went
yeah,
to the board, I had to campaign super hard for this. I really had to, press my luck here. And like the sort of his offers at the beginning of what is really a riot at this point
are
are like we can
ass.
extend curfew like 2 hours.
I think it was 1 hour.
Was it 1 hour? It
I
was
think it was
some
1 hour, like
yeah crazy roughly
eight
one
from
hour.
8 to 9 or something like that. Yeah.
They weren't going to offer a separate class for Black Studies. They were going to offer a unit within the history course, and they were going
Yeah.
to call it something that I'm not going to repeat.
What
Uh,
was it? The N word? The
yeah, it
good
was
the good N word. The
the
better
best.
the better N word. Not the non.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and then they were going to be like, and they were like, we're saying, minority students to get like a boost in their grades, and they were like, this is the one where I really had to go hard.
Oh,
But
the
that
athletic
exactly
thing.
five African American and five Mexican American students can be appointed on scholarships, and they'll be athletes.
Yeah,
So
if they're athlete, like he had to. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's just this completely like
Just
utterly
ass. It's ass.
yeah
Not
pathetic.
good. Not what they wanted at all. Yeah.
pathetic sort of offer, and he's so defensive of it, and Harry's just saying like, this isn't enough, this isn't going to solve anything, and he's just
Yeah.
like, I am a liberal, and this is me offering what I can give. We need incremental change.
Yeah.
He uses the phrase incremental change,
Yeah.
and that to me was just like powerful flashes to the present day, even though it's
Yeah.
different.
I mean, it was when it was, and then he was like, "Sure, incremental change, but it's too late." You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's too late
Like,
for
I
that.
think, I personally don't have a problem with incremental change as long as it's done in a way that kind of gets the end result at the right time. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
I
I
think
think
obviously,
there's times where you need the change now, and to bring it
yeah,
in slowly is just stupid. And then there's other times where obviously public opinion and all that takes ages to change, so you need to bring some
yeah.
things in slowly, but you need to start it, with a view to end it at the right time. And I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
mean, this
that's
is this is
yeah,
something that you and I differ on, obviously, but like certainly in that situation, it is just so utterly
yeah,
ignorant to not offer any capitulations at all.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
it's clearly a critique of the government at the time. I feel, or at least sort of the attitude that colleges were
I
taking.
think you're
It's
probably right.
this changing
Probably
of
right.
guard. Um, what else should we talk about?
What else should we talk about? So I looked up the cinematographer when
Yeah,
when we were talking about camera work, fucking however long ago, and he did Easy Rider. Seems to be
nice.
his
I've
other
never seen
big
that.
one.
Is it good?
Have you not? It's
No.
pretty good. It's kind of really weird, but it's in a good way.
That might explain the fisheye lens.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's a bunch of
Just to
scenes
be
in
clear,
that.
like the fisheye lens appears the moment he says it's incremental change, Carrie. It's for the
Yeah,
best.
yeah, and
You get his sweaty
it's just
face.
like POV. Man, there was talking about. I mean, now it's kind of a POV shot, but there was like one POV shot in the rest of the film.
Oh
Do you
yeah, I
remember that?
remember
There was
that.
the kind of it was,
So
it was like you're watching Peep Show for like a minute.
yeah, like I say, like it's very well shot film, but it's mostly pretty normal, and then like it'll just very occasionally take these dips into
Yeah,
very weird territory, always for the better, in fairness.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Um,
Yeah. So do you want to maybe talk about the female lead because we haven't really discussed her
yeah.
yet?
So my
She's,
notes.
mhm,
Jan,
yeah.
Candice Bergen is her name, and I've not seen her in anything else, but she was pretty good.
Isn't it
However,
Candace Owens?
what?
Never mind. Who cares?
Okay, cool. However, the play between them, between her and Harry, was like so theatrical. Like it was like they're having a
Yeah.
formal debate. Like watching a presidential debate or something every time they argued.
Well, the thing with them both is that they're very trapped by their ideals. I think, particularly in Jan's case, where she's an activist like Harry, but she's sort of realizing that she does actually want a normal life,
Yeah,
and we're figuring out how to admit that to both herself and to him.
yeah,
But I would say that she's maybe given kind of a short shaft because most of her character is just sort of getting increasingly aggressive about the fact that she wants marriage.
yes, exactly.
Which Harry is not prepared to offer her, and he gets quite rude about because he clearly doesn't believe in it as an institution. It's quite interesting. Do you think? I mean, I feel maybe it's just a sign of the times, but do you think people would get that aggressive? Not about like marriage in general, but just like not believing in it, as it were.
Yeah, I
Like,
think so. I can
yeah.
see, I can definitely see that being a thing. That because some people just don't see the point in it.
Well, there's a
And
difference
I
between not seeing the point in it and saying like the entire institution is like
Yeah,
fundamental.
but I feel like once you've got that in your head, I mean, once you've sure, okay, so maybe you don't see the point of it, and then but there might be other people that don't see the point of it and also think it's this bad thing. And I think once you get that in your head, like
Yeah.
that's you because like it's a big life decision, obviously getting
Yeah.
married, and if
Well, I
you
don't
if you
want to.
decide at a certain point that you're not going to do it, I think to have that questioned or someone try and change it would just be like, yeah, I can
Yeah.
see it for sure.
It's certainly a lack of flexibility on his part, which I think the film does highlight as a proper flaw.
Yeah,
Um,
he's really inflexible
yeah,
for
well, that's
sure.
sort of again, that's the whole context of his character, as it were. So he's
Yeah,
very inflexible in his beliefs, but he does have to pick a side, basically,
yeah,
in this
that's true.
generational war,
That's true.
and it's constantly thrown into tension. But yeah, Jan's whole thing, she's so the film starts with Harry like using her to cheat. He gets her to mark his work, not his
Yeah,
work, students' work for him,
yeah,
and like it's clear that like she's just does this all the time for him. And then when he
yeah,
eventually gets kicked out of his flat, he ends up staying with her
yeah.
and getting her to do his laundry and everything.
Indeed.
So like when she does blow off at him, it's very earned, and like
Yeah.
do kind of feel like maybe she should move on. But then there's a very weird plot where it's not weird because you do see this sort of thing all the time in films of the time where she's just like, I need to be married. This doctor I've met is
Yeah.
proposed to me, so I might just marry him.
Man, it's like something from the 1870s rather than the 1970s. I mean,
Wow, that's a very good line.
did that happen
Well,
back then? Did people just
like you
meet?
do occasionally see in films that people are just like, yeah, this guy randomly, not randomly, but just like we've known each other 2 weeks. He offered to marry me
Yeah.
as like a conversational thing, and I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I mean, I get like I was watching the D-Day stuff last week, and there was
Yeah,
this woman that was like, "Oh, I was a nurse, and then I met my husband that was in the army, and we got engaged after 10 days or something." So
yeah.
like, it does happen, or it did happen, but it just that is so weird to me.
It's very
That
like
I
I
mean,
realized that like obviously at that time getting married was like it's not that it's not an expectation today, but there was
yeah,
certainly an expectation that you do it soon. Like she says, like if you're not married by 21, you will be an old maid.
that's true.
Uh,
Yeah, which is not the case anymore,
yeah,
obviously. But yeah, it's interesting. But again, I guess it's the thing of like if you've got it so much in your head that you're going to get married, and the other person also does, and it's very easy to
yeah.
just do it, if
I
you
think
both
a
have it in your head.
recurring thing throughout the film is that there are characters who are too trapped in their worldviews to sort of capitulate to any outside
Yes.
force whatsoever.
Yes. Which
Um,
is a very human trait. A very
it is a very human trait, but it's like I
yes.
say, it's very present in Harry. It's quite present in Jan. It's also present very much in the professors.
Yeah.
I'm not sure probably doesn't deserve the title of the villain, but if there is a villainous figure in the film, it's definitely Harry's professor. His name's what's his name? Is Wilbur? Isn't that something? It's
No idea.
Jan something. What in God's name is his name? One who teaches a class at the beginning.
I don't know, man.
And stops him from becoming a teacher.
I don't know, man.
All right, cool.
Cool.
I should have made notes for that.
I mean, you've explained him well enough. I think.
I have clearly. So
Yeah.
he's the guy who teaches Harry, and Harry's ambition is to become a teacher, but
Yeah.
he constantly doubts Harry's ability in this matter. He starts with a speech with Harry, and he's saying like, you want to teach like the exceptional students, and you want
Yeah.
to teach like the
Exactly.
very underperforming students, but you have no interest in the education of the average
Yeah.
student whatsoever. And like, I don't think you're prepared to be a teacher.
I mean, I think I think he had a point to an extent.
It's a very nice speech about teaching. Like in fairness to him, I don't think he's unsympathetic at all.
No, I think he's just sort of stuck in his ways.
I think this is very much a film where Harry is usually in the wrong.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, Harry probably wouldn't be that good a teacher, to be honest.
Well, that's what I kind of wonder.
Or would he? I don't know. What makes a good teacher? Like is it someone that's got this like passion and whatever? Or is it someone that just knows what they're doing?
Well, when
Does
we
it?
do sort of see him teaching, he gets given like a remedial English class.
Yeah.
He does teach them, and like they all love him in a way that does feel a bit
Yeah.
weird.
He sleeps with one of them, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I was about to say he also like immediately enters into an inappropriate relationship with one of them.
Yeah. So so he loves his class basically. But yeah, he is but that's what I'm saying. Like he's a good teacher in so much as he has this like passion for
Have you ever
getting his ideas across and whatever.
You've watched How I've Met Your Mother, right?
Vaguely, not really.
All right. Well, like the main character in How I Met Your Mother is like his name's Ted Mosby. He's
Yes.
the worst human being
Yeah.
has ever existed.
Yeah.
He's like a college professor after a certain point in the show.
Right.
And like, the joke is that like because he's telling the story, like he tends to exaggerate things in his own way. So one
Yeah.
of the things as a joke is that all of his students love him unconditionally, and like think he's the coolest person who's ever existed.
Right.
And like that vibe as a not joke is what I got from those scenes in Getting Straight.
It's
It's
kind of
just-
like Indiana Jones, right? Like
Yeah, I guess. In a
You know,
way.
like
Well,
all-
no. In fairness, I never really got the impression that the kids in Indiana Jones classes actually liked him very much. other
no,
than the one-
they're just attracted to him, I think.
Yeah.
Talking about Indiana Jones, this is a nice segue. Harrison
Oh
Ford
yeah.
in this
This is
film.
Harrison Ford's first named role.
Is it?
Yeah.
He is young as fuck in this.
He is disturbing. Like I was saying to someone else earlier, like Harrison Ford, like his entire sort of image is sort of based on being like slightly grizzled, like 5 o'clock sort of thing.
Yeah.
Seeing him as sort of like this bright-eyed, he's like a student teacher, like clearly like just postmasters, if anything.
Yeah, exactly.
He's just like super young. He's got this blonde mullet that goes like way far down on his head.
That's right.
Super,
Yeah.
he's got He's not that good in it, actually. I'm not
Really,
too
I
mean.
thought he was pretty good. Well, I thought he was pretty good in so much as he was like playing Harrison Ford. You
Well, that
know.
was the thing. Like, he plays a very minor character, but like he does. I think it's just my own image of him, but like he's supposed to be
Right.
like a little naive. I think is sort of his character. He's supposed to be quite
Yeah.
nice. He's not deep,
That is true. That is true. Harrison Ford
and like
he kind of needs to be a bit of an asshole, doesn't he, in his films?
I'm not sure he needs to be an asshole. He just I
A
feel
little
there's a
bit.
certain tiredness to him usually, I
Yeah,
suppose.
that's what I
Where
mean. Yeah, tired. He
yeah,
needs to be a bit sort of tired and can't be,
yeah, and
knows
you
what's
don't see
up.
that here,
Can't be
which is quite
doesn't want to.
not interesting. It's
I don't
just
know.
strange. Uh, but like yeah, you can see why it maybe took another what would it be?
Yeah.
Star Wars came out in '77, so it's 7 years before his career really took off.
Was it Star Wars? Did you say?
I think Star Wars is his first
Yeah,
major.
I think so.
I think
When was
he
Raiders
wasn't
of the
one of the
Lost
ones who
Ark?
was an American graffiti, was he?
When was Raiders of the Lost Ark? Was that
Sorry, oh, Raiders of the Lost Ark was
80
way
or
after.
something?
That was
Right.
'80s.
Yeah. I mean, I knew it was. Yeah. Okay. So talking about the cast, Elliot Gould.
Yeah.
Do
What did you?
you are you familiar with him particularly?
Only from Ocean's 11,
I was
which
about to say, that was my question. Like, what was this guy in? And you were supposed to say, I don't know. And then I was gonna be like, Ocean's 11. He's the bow tie guy. But
nice.
you knew that.
I'm sorry to ruin your joke. Which
Yeah,
one was he in it? He's the
the bow tie guy, the
very,
like the campy sort of
the very
older.
aggressively Jewish accountant, right? Like,
Yeah, I think so.
yeah.
Maybe I don't know. I've not seen Ocean's. Well, I saw Ocean's 11
Oh,
quite
haven't you?
recently, but I don't really remember it. No, I've seen it,
Yeah.
just not for a while.
Yeah, it's
But
a fun film.
he's the guy with the bow tie. He was also in
Cool.
MASH, which we've missed because it
Yeah,
came out in
we.
January.
I was about to say like when we first started this, I was looking up like films that came out in
Yeah,
1917. Like the big one was like, hey, the MASH film came out in
yeah,
1917,
but it came out in
and
January,
then we missed it. Yeah.
so we're not allowed to watch it.
So yeah,
We also missed Aristocats, which I know you were very disappointed
disgusting. Yeah, that's what
with.
I was
Well,
hoping to start with. But
maybe we can do like a special.
yeah, I'm sure
Aristocats
we'll
special.
find weeks where we won't be able to get stuff. We can
Yeah.
go backwards from there.
He was
Um,
also in Contagion,
mhm.
which I've not
But
seen, but it's very popular.
That's the one
at
that's
the
very
moment.
popular right now. Yeah.
Very popular. I think all the streaming services are like promoting it, to people to watch. And do you know what else he was in?
Mhm. I do not.
He was in the Muppets movie, and also the Muppets Take Manhattan, which I've seen, and I don't remember him being in it, but I've not seen it for a long time, so
Mm.
whatever. So
Yeah.
yeah, I thought he was pretty good in the film, but he was very like Nicolas Cagey. I felt
What do you mean, like
his
overacting?
reactions to things, like when you're watching a
Mm.
Nicolas Cage film and he just like loses his shit and like pulls
Yeah.
the weirdest
I
fucking
have
face. And
always
it's like,
loved
what
that.
the fuck
Uh,
are you talking? Like that didn't sound anything like
I
Nicolas Cage.
suppose one of the
But
weird things about this film, like this is a film where Harry screams an awful
yeah,
lot. Like I say, the structure of a lot of scenes is that he is put in a room with people who he doesn't want to be with, who want him to
Yeah.
be things that he doesn't want to be.
yeah,
And he just gets more and more wound up, and then
Yeah.
eventually explodes.
yeah,
Um, and to be fair, I don't really be. His screaming matches, like with the exception of one or two, can sometimes maybe don't come off as well as they could. I don't know.
yeah. They weren't great. Although they kind of built up to the big rant at the end, which is amazing.
Yeah, the big rant at the end is fantastic, even if
Yeah.
it is mostly made up of references I don't get.
Yeah, I've not read the Great Gatsby, but
Um,
still,
just
It-
whilst we're sort of somewhat on the topic,
right.
obviously this film is a comedy.
Yes.
Would you say you found it that funny?
No, not well.
Yeah.
I found it comedic. I found it funny in so much as I enjoyed myself watching it. But I don't think I
Yeah.
had any particular laugh out
Yeah, I
loud
would say
moments.
with the exception, I think it, like everything else, it got a lot funnier as it went along, and like,
Yeah.
the stakes were introduced. Like it really cannot be exaggerated quite how dull the first 40 minutes are in comparison to everything else.
Yeah,
But I wouldn't say it was a sort of laugh a minute thing, which is sort of what I was getting from the reviews I read at the time.
oh really?
Yeah, they were all quite positive. I think good old Gene Siskel was the only one who was quite negative about it that I saw. He also said that it took way too long for the conflict to be established. Though he
Yeah,
said,
I think I read that.
I'm
one.
more
So,
generous.
I mean, we're kind of like the modern day Siskel and Ebert, right?
Clearly, I'm after their chair. I think the show's still on without them, isn't it? Or at least it was
Is
for
it?
a while.
I don't know. I don't know, man.
At the movies.
Maybe.
Well, that's it.
Talking
No,
about.
no, I had an opinion.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's
Go
it.
on.
It wasn't an opinion; it was a fact. So there are 3 student protest films released that year, as well as like
Right.
a few others like throughout the era.
Don't
This is the
spoil
only
any of it.
one that made any money at all.
This was the only one that made any money.
Yeah, it's the only one that was a commercial success.
Okay.
I find interesting.
That is
Uh,
interesting.
I wonder. Part of me wonders if maybe it plays quite well to someone who's maybe less interested in the issues, or at least less willing to side with the students. I think more than most other films, I suspect this one has a lot of reservations about student activism, even if it does ultimately side with it.
Potentially, especially since the main character is kind of not one of
He
them.
doesn't side with anyone, which is also quite useful
Exactly.
if you're wanting to appeal to both sides.
Exactly. Um, Although I did wonder, right, if they were
Mhm.
trying, if they were like trying almost too hard to be like progressive or like to trigger old people or something, because
They're not.
there's this bit right at the start, like in the establishment shot, where this like there's this black girl and a white girl walking along
Mm.
next to each other, and it's like zoomed in on them, and then like very obviously, like a black guy comes up with the white girl, and like a black dude come no wait a white like they basically it turns out they're like two mixed race couples, right?
Mm.
And it's like very obviously like zoomed in on them, like look at this is a college campus where you know races mix and people can do what they
Yeah.
want. And I was wondering if that was like because there's another bit where like there's a party and there's these like two girls that look at each other and they're obviously like lesbians. And
Yeah.
I was wondering if that's like to try and like trigger old people.
Yeah. The thing is, you can't really tell this throughout the time, but it really wouldn't surprise me if this film maybe wasn't as accurate about the student stuff as it likes to pretend to be. Because
Yeah,
obviously, they wouldn't really know that sort of thing. And there are
yeah.
bits that certainly seem a bit strange, like what am I trying to think of?
Do you know what I found strange? When
Mhm.
they were in like a cinema thing watching like a sex ed video.
Yeah,
Was that were they getting sex ed at university or were they watching it for a laugh?
I guess they must
Like
have been getting sex ed. I'm just thinking of it.
you reckon? Like it was really weird because it was like
Yeah,
it's because
like I
I thought she
guess.
was like a biology student as well. So I was like, should she not know this shit? Like
Yeah, I mean, trying to think. It was obviously like, particularly in America, I imagine that high school was maybe a bit more restrictive, like depending on where you
yeah,
were.
that's true.
So
Yeah.
maybe like the. I'm sure she was just supervising the class. She wasn't part of it, maybe.
Oh,
But
maybe you're right.
it
Yeah, but
wouldn't. I guess it wouldn't surprise me if like there were people who just needed to have their sex ed in college rather than
yeah,
anywhere
it could
else.
be, could have been,
Um,
could have been.
yeah. I was
Or I mean, he also made a joke about it where he like shouted something out and they all laughed. So maybe it's
yeah.
something where like they already know all this stuff, but they have to
But
go
there's just they
anyway.
have to be taught. Well, I mean,
Or
yeah,
like it's
that's
some
probably
some like program where they have to do it. Maybe it was that. I don't know.
what I was going to say. Just whilst we're still talking about Jan, because I forgot to mention this.
Right.
There's a point very early on after a very weird sex scene where Harry Gould sucks her toes,
Oh,
and
I had a point about that, but
absolutely having a whale of a time.
yeah, I had a point about that. But go do yours first.
So I was going to say immediately after that, she says she's pregnant
Yeah,
to like get a reaction out of him, and
yeah,
she's just like, no, I'm not. She was just being
just pranking him.
incredibly manipulative.
It was just a little prank, man.
But this is like maybe her third scene. It's
Yeah,
very is I think it's genuinely the worst thing any non-member of the police character does throughout the film.
yeah, it was pretty awful because
Yeah.
he's like, what the fuck, and then yeah, it
Anyway, what was
was.
your point about
So my
Tosak?
oh god, right. I had 2 points about the toe sucking. So the first thing was, I was wondering because it seemed that they were trying very hard to show like as little skin as possible, and I
Yeah.
was thinking
I
like, are
assume that's
they?
the only reason they would have thought up that.
I was thinking like, are they censoring this? Like, are they trying to like show cunnilingus without actually showing it? Like
Oh yeah, maybe that's.
and they were showing like such little thing. But then I'm sitting there, and an hour into the film, he has sex with this other girl, and
Yeah.
she's just there's like a fully nude shot of her.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, okay, so it's not a censorship thing. So is this like a Tarantino situation where like Elliot Gould's like, I want to suck her toes,
I
or
almost
like
like.
the writer's like, I want to see Elliot Gould sucking Candice Bergen's toes,
Well,
and just like put
also,
it
just
in.
to be like really weird about it, like it's a very strange position for toe sucking because they're basically 69ing but with toes.
Yeah, it was
And
weird.
what I assume is the natural thing where one person would like kneel at the end of a bed. Although
What
maybe
you
I'm
assume? What
bad.
you assume?
That's just my assumption.
Just your assumption.
So,
As a
but
non
at the very
expert.
least, I can't imagine that like having your toes sucked by Elliot Gould while you got his arsehole right in your face is too big.
No, I wouldn't.
That's
You wouldn't think so. It was just it
yeah.
was weird, and it clearly
Mhm.
wasn't a censored thing because
Yeah.
like there's other nudity in the film. So that was interesting. So I think this is a segue because I think it was the same scene, but it might not have been. So there's this really cool like editing thing, which is like something. It was like almost felt like a modern film
Mhm.
technique where he's like carrying his laundry. He gets kicked out and he's got his laundry, and he's like
Yeah,
carrying
that's the same
laundry,
thing. Yeah.
and the camera like zooms in on the bag, and then it zooms out and he's in her room with like the laundry there.
Oh yeah,
And
that's
I was like, man, that was pretty cool
is
because
that a match cut to use
yeah, a
the?
match cut. It was a match cut, but it was like
I know stuff.
so obviously match cuts are nothing new,
Mm.
but it was like
Obviously.
a perfect match cut where like the bag was exactly the same. And I was like, shit, how did they do that in 1970? Like the lighting in it, like it was exactly the same. And I was like, there's no way this was like computer generated or something. So like
I guess you
how
just have to be super careful with your lighting, right?
yeah, lighting
So,
and like
okay.
having exactly the same setup. And I guess maybe they faded between it and I didn't really notice, but I just found that really cool. Because he like chucks a bag as well in the first bit, so it's not even like it was placed carefully. Like he chucks it and then yeah, I just found that cool.
Yeah.
That was a cool thing.
Um,
It was a cool thing. Um,
I
okay,
suppose
so
if I can bring in my own little bit of thematic
yeah,
analysis now that you've been able
let's
to
do.
show off your actually relevant degree, the one thing that I did find interesting is that there's a bit towards the end, again in this discussion where the dean offers the incremental change, where he talks about whether people should be able to should be forced to obey laws if they don't think they are just,
Yeah,
which very much goes to this sort of debate between sort of legal positivism and natural law. This
yeah,
idea that can a law be valid if it is immoral,
yeah.
which is a very interesting topic, obviously. And the correct answer is obviously you don't have to obey shit. That's my legal scholar analysis.
Right.
It's-
I'm not gonna lie, Jamie. I kind of zoned out for that.
Thank you.
But
I'm glad I'm providing such entertainment to you.
I'm sure that it was really good. Um,
Thank you.
okay, what else? What else did I want to say? Oh, another bit that fucking it was just funny as fuck was when they were like it was at the start of the protest and the guy was like shouting at the police officer like trying to taunt him, right?
Oh yeah.
And then the riot starts and the fight happens and the guy just fucking like kung fu kicks this police officer like right in the head, knocks him out, and I was like,
But
what the fuck? This guy's like a kung fu master. It's just
if you hate
like
police,
that
this
was
is a very
so
good film. This
weird.
is the film for you,
Yeah,
quite frankly.
if you hate pigs
Uh, yeah, they use the word pig an awful
a
lot.
lot, but I
And,
mean,
always justified.
who the fuck like kung fu kicks straight through a guy's
In
head?
full riot gear, if I remember.
In full riot gear, yeah. He like jumps up and kicks him. I don't know how effective the riot gear is because like one of his like turning point things is when he punches the policeman and that guy just goes straight down, despite
Yeah,
wearing a
riot,
helmet.
riot gear's fake. Everyone knows that.
Clearly, clearly.
Um,
All right. Is there anything else that I wanted
I
to
suppose
say about the film?
we should maybe talk about. Oh,
Oh no, you go on.
okay. I've got two things I would want to talk about. Firstly, there is only one black character in the film.
Yes,
Well, there's two black characters. Sorry, there's one black guy and then one black girl who has no purpose in the film other than to sleep with Harry Daly.
that's right. Correct.
So,
And there's also the black people at the start that are the mixed race couple that are
oh
very
yeah, of
obviously
course.
zoomed in on.
So I guess as
Yeah.
the sole point of representation, did he stand out to you in any way, or
Um, not
just to
not
be
really.
socially
He was fine.
aware?
He
Yeah,
was he was fine.
his whole deal is he's very passionate about his Black History topic.
Yes,
Good for him.
good for
But
him.
his only other pressure point is to like pressure Harry constantly into campaigning for him, and then saying that Harry's not like legitimate,
Yeah,
and then
Which is-
always being like he challenges Harry constantly and is
Yeah.
never successful in any way. He's never
Yeah.
allowed like a victory.
exactly.
I suppose is maybe the weird thing. Like his moment of triumph in the film is when Harry Daly, like at the very end of the film in the right, he's smashing windows of classrooms, and Harry Daly just sort of gives him a little nod,
Yeah,
and that's like the highlight of his film. Everything else is him saying like, Harry, you don't know how I've struggled as a black man, and then Harry saying, actually, I do, and he gets
Yeah.
shot.
Pretty much, yeah. I guess that kind of links to the thing I was saying earlier about that article where it's kind of like a
Hmm.
very like he almost
Yeah,
has like
exactly.
a chip on his shoulder. I don't know, maybe that's a
Yeah.
bad thing to say, but you know what I mean. Like he's yeah. So
And
something interesting about that actor,
hmm,
because
yeah,
I was looking through all the cast to
he
like
did
try
look
and
familiar.
guess. Well, he did to me as well, but I didn't recognize any of the films he'd been in. But
Hmm.
he was in one called The Black Klansman from 1966.
Ah, cool.
Did you know that there was a film called that before Black
I
Klansman?
did not know there
It's
was one
completely
called that
unrelated.
for Black KK Klansman. Or,
It's completely unrelated to the Spike Lee joint as they're called.
hmm.
But it seems to be a film that has a white guy playing like a black guy, and
Oh, like in blackface or just ignoring it?
no, so he's supposed to be like very light skinned black, and everything I've read is like I can't really tell because the film's in black and white, but he seems to just be a white guy.
Oh, is he?
It's like a very
That's way
lovely.
worse.
No.
Oh,
The
the
guy
main
that's
character in that
playing
film.
the
Okay.
main character in this other film. Um, yeah, they can't tell because it's in black and white, but he seems to be a white guy, and he like infiltrates the KKK and all that stuff. But like it's
Huh.
actually him rather than Black Klansman, where it's like over the phone. Like he actually infiltrates it. I find it interesting. It's totally unrelated to the Spike Lee film
Ah,
or to this film, but just while we're on that guy, on that dude,
anyway, yeah. So what I was going to say as a sort of final topic, and one that leads
right?
directly into the ending, is the presentation of homosexuality in the film, which I think is actually one of the more interesting things.
Right.
Um, I would go so far as to say that I don't think this film's very supportive of it in general. There's this sort of scene towards the very beginning where like Nick says like to Harry like, "Oh, what you're gonna do as a teacher, man? Like you're just gonna end up in some like nowhere place in Arizona or something." And Harry Dale's like, "Oh, you shouldn't not in Arizona, man. It's got like the lowest rates of lung cancer, homosexuality, and crabs." And
Well, I think that was. I mean, that seemed to me that read as a like reference to what America as a whole would think of the place,
mm,
rather than I didn't read that as like the filmmaker or the
I
character
don't. No. I don't think
believing
that's
that.
like a sort of stake through the heart of things. But I
Yeah.
do think that it's never, it's rarely directly mentioned.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
When
didn't really notice
it
much.
is at
Apart
least
from
generally dismissed.
apart from
Apart
when
from,
he pretends to be gay to not get drafted, right?
oh yeah, that's
Nick,
right. Nick does pretend to. I
so,
don't.
which
That one
is
doesn't last very long, does
which is
it?
a
There's
thing.
like he
What?
does like a stupid effeminate voice, right? But other
Yeah,
than
he
nothing like
does. He does.
you'd expect that to be like an extended bit that would last like half an hour, but I think
Yeah.
it's like 3 minutes at
Yeah, I
most.
mean, I don't. I didn't really. I think it was. I didn't really see the homosexuality being particularly prevalent in the film.
Yeah, well, that's the
I mean,
thing. I think it's
I don't
it's
think they.
conspicuous in its absence. I would
Yeah,
say, from my point of view, because every other
I think they just sort of tried to avoid dealing with it.
yeah, because every other issue, not every other issue, but like every other issue sort of presented in the film is like something which you can tell, like, oh yeah, that was very
Yeah,
relevant at the time.
yeah,
That was a hot button topic. Whereas I
yeah,
would say that homosexuality is at least conspicuous by its
yeah.
general absence.
I mean, but
Uh,
I guess the whole thing about like he couldn't join the army if he's gay, and like
yeah, the stuff like that.
the Arizona having the lowest homosexuality. I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
think
that
there's
was a
like a
comment. The
couple of bits
comment
where like
on
Harry Daly's like, I'm no homosexual, sexual or something like that. Like he's clearly, he's not a fan of being called it at the very least. Although that was
yeah,
certainly
but I feel
that.
like that's just a thing of the time, you know.
Yeah, well, that's the thing of the time and would persist for at least 30 years, even if we're being
Yeah,
generous.
and we're gonna be when we're doing this podcast in 30 years and we get our first
Yeah.
good gay representation, we're gonna be
Uh, man,
so happy.
I forget what the first game. Anyway. Um, so I was going to say that the time where homosexuality perhaps comes up the most prevalently, however, is the ending, which we should now talk about as if we want to.
Yeah,
Uh, so at the end of the film, Harry Daly, by his professor, has been denied the opportunity to become a teacher.
yes,
He's not going to get his education credit because he got Nick to cheat on an exam for him. And the professor who found out is the one who doesn't believe in him and doesn't feel he deserves a chance to be a teacher.
yeah,
So he's very cut up about it, but he's he can still get his master's. It'll be a master's in English. He won't be able to become a teacher.
yeah,
So he does a sort of oral that he's been revising throughout the film. A lot of the film does actually revolve around him like just trying to find a quiet place to study.
yeah, which I liked a lot.
Yeah, it's relatable content.
It is, you know,
Hmm.
I'm gonna interrupt you for a second,
Thank you.
but on this while we're on this topic, I kind of feel for him, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm only in third year. Well, I guess I finished third year now. I'm going to fourth year,
Yeah.
and all these fucking whippersnappers are coming in freshers, and I like to have a party, but man, these
Yeah.
guys are just partying all the time, and I did it 2 years ago or whatever, but oh maybe not as much, but still I did it a bit, and
Yeah.
they're partying all the time, and they're like, oh, you should come out, you should do this, and I'm like, man, I just want to like go to bed
Nah.
at like I don't know midnight or something, or maybe a little bit into the morning, but I want to sit and play video games. I want to watch films. I want to do some work. I've got loads of work to do. I just want
Well,
to fuck
I
that.
don't want to be
So I
like too
get it.
aggressive. Yeah, like I don't. I think one of the slightly weird things about university, like I guess like maybe just because it's like such a time of change, I suppose, is that like first year is so different compared to anything like maybe
Yeah.
first and second, but like just once you get like third year and then like to like postgraduate students and everything,
Yeah.
such a divide. Like Harry Daly is a lot older. I guess we should
Yeah.
maybe discuss than any of the students. I think because
Yeah.
obviously he went to Vietnam
For 6 years.
for 6 years, so I
So
don't know.
I guess he's in his late 20s, and they're in
Yeah, late 20s would maybe be the age, whereas I think everyone else
mid 20s
is
maybe, but yeah.
pretty clearly early 20s, very late teens,
Yeah.
or at least they're supposed to be. Obviously, it's it's a film they're
Yeah.
played by mid 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
That's
But-
the aesthetic they're going for, which I guess is sort of part of why he feels so
Yeah.
isolated.
But then again, I kind of feel like once you're past first year, certainly once you're past second year, like everyone's the same.
Yeah.
Like I know people that are like in their mid 20s or late 20s, and
Well, yeah,
fine.
exactly.
Like you're an adult at that point,
Yeah, I don't mean to be weird about it.
No, I know you're not weird. You'd never be weird
Lecturing.
about anything, man. I know that.
Of course, I'm never weird.
Never weird. But I just I find it. I did kind of relate to him in a weird
Yeah.
way. Like I don't have people pressuring me to join the protests or whatever. But just like
Actually, one of the slightly weirder things is that like Harry's forced to sell his textbooks like pretty early on in the film
Yeah.
in order to pay rent, although he doesn't manage to do that anyway.
Yeah.
And like he just has to go through like his entire sort of exam session without any books at all, which is like.
Well, no, he's got his library card.
He gets them
doesn't
from the library, yeah, but like.
Yeah, he spends a bunch of time in the library.
It's just, and then like yeah, he says like he studies at the laundromat because that gives him like 25
Yeah.
minutes, like a
Yeah.
free hour to
Yeah.
be quiet.
It's
Anyway.
it's real. The
Yeah.
struggle is real. Like our library has these fucking like big holes in the middle, where
Mm.
like it's like a great library, but man, it's so loud sometimes.
Oh yeah. Well, I think like the problem with like having a library on a university campus is like everyone needs to use it all the time, so like
Well,
the purpose gets defeated.
no, actually, not everyone needs to fucking use it. People use it; they don't need to. Like if I see
Yeah.
a first year in the library, I'm like, "What are you doing?" Just go home.
Yeah.
Unless you
Yeah.
have an exam like the next day, or you've got an essay due like that day or whatever, and you're doing just go home. Like there's people in there that are writing essays that are like 3 times as long, or doing the dissertation or whatever. Even as a third year, I don't need to go to the library that much.
Yeah. I
Like,
think
save it for the fourth years and post.
yeah, like to be fair, I think I can count on maybe one hand the amount of times I had to go to the library to like find an actual book, like
Yeah.
specifically, rather than just like I need a
Yeah.
quiet place to work.
Yeah, I mean, I do.
Anyway.
Like sometimes it's good to go and like find a book because it can set your essay apart because it's not something that's available
Yeah.
online. But yeah, the rest of the time, man.
Anyway,
That
speaking
was a
of
bit of a segue.
exams,
I'm not
he
Go
moves on to his sort of oral exam, which is this panel filled with a bunch of, I guess they're just sort of scholars.
Boomers. Well, boomers of the
No,
time.
they're the greatest generation. They'd be greatest generation.
The great generation, right?
I think so.
But
Got
we would call them
generations,
boomers
right.
now.
We would no, those would be older than boomers. Harry
No, but
would-
as in the equivalent.
yeah,
Yeah.
Their attitudes, they are
They've got
Harry-
they've got very boomer attitudes.
they are Harry's dreaded establishment.
Exactly.
Reckoning.
Which is what Harry's generation has become now.
Yeah. So
It's a cycle.
Harry does his oral. It seems to be going quite well.
Mm-hmm.
The panel seem fairly impressed with him. And then, like, one of the panel members sort of asks him, like, sort of offhandedly, "Hey, who's your favorite contemporary author?" And Harry says, "Oh, I like F. Scott Fitzgerald," which he's mentioned before. This is a very consistent character detail. And he's like, "Oh, okay. What's your favorite F. Scott Fitzgerald book?" And he says, "Oh, I like The Great Gatsby."
Yeah.
And then, like, a point of mild interest, at least to me, is that the scholar says, like, actually, it's generally considered that the greatest of F. Scott Fitzgerald's work is it like Gently Goes Good Night or something? It's
No
a
idea.
different non-Gatsby book, which
Yeah.
is like a minor point, but it's interesting to see how the critical opinion has changed. So I think
Yeah, because of course now.
I don't think anyone would
yeah.
doubt that Gatsby's his more notable work
Exactly.
now. And so they discuss The Great Gatsby a bit, and then like it's like, so what speaks to you about it? And Harry Deal's like, oh well, I liked Gatsby's sort of story of trying to buy back happiness from a life where he's had to sacrifice his happiness in order to gain wealth.
Yeah.
And then he says, then like they talk a bit about Nick Carraway's point of view, and the scholar posits that Nick Carraway is in love with Gatsby, and Harry Daly's like, he clearly doesn't believe it, but he's sort of going. He's like, I can see why you'd think that. Well, quite interesting. I see a lot of people talk about Nick Carraway being gay today, so it's also nice to see that that's persisted.
Yeah. I mean,
but then
yeah,
the scholar sort of goes quite a big step further and says that like it's clearly F. Scott Fitzgerald sort of presenting his own repressed homosexuality on the page.
Yeah.
And like this is like conclusive proof. Like Harry must agree with this. Surely everyone knows. He uses the exact phrase. Everyone knows this.
Yeah.
And like you could tell that Harry's just going like completely fucking mental. He cannot possibly handle this. He hates it more than anything in the world, and then he just like explodes. He yells, "It's gonna be a surprise to Sheila Graham," which is not a reference I get, although I gather she's a gossip columnist.
Yeah.
And then he like stands on the table. He does a little dance. He screams about how gay Gatsby and Fitzgerald are. He pours water on the head of the scholar. And he's like, I can't believe this. And then he walks out. And like the professor that's a friend to him is like, hey, do you want to talk about syntax? And he's like, nah, I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
And then like eventually the riot reaches the office and it ends. But like he's just sort of sat there, sort of dripping wet with water from the water he sprayed everywhere, and just sort of like kneel down.
Yeah.
And sob a little.
It's funny.
As a climax, what was your opinion on that?
I liked the climax. I thought it was good.
I
thought it was kind of funny. It's like his whole thing. You know that like classic like meme or like I guess internet thing of like bloody English teachers overanalyzing everything, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Like that thing. It kind of felt like the whole film was just him rebelling against that. Like that was what it was leading up to.
Well, firstly,
he was like, fuck this guy's not gay. Like, he could be gay, doesn't mean the writer's gay, all this stuff. Like, the curtains aren't blue, they're just blue curtains,
Yeah.
It was like, that was like the fucking climax of the film, which I found quite funny. Yeah. But obviously, it's other stuff repressed.
Yeah. To go on a massive tangent, I hate that meme more than anything in the entire world.
Oh, same.
It's genuinely my least favorite meme.
I very much understand the sentiment behind it, because,
like, the thing it's obviously...
not everything that is written down is...
It's obviously like occasionally true, but it's also clearly told from the perspective of a student who was told once, like, there are themes in this work, and he's like, no, there aren't. Story about a man and a whale. Get real. So, sorry, folks, little audio issue there.
Back.
If anyone's
back.
listening and got,
if any of you are
this far,
if any of you are tuned in here and you noticed a little break there, just ignore it. Yeah. Nothing happened. I didn't run out of
We'll know if
space.
anyone actually listens to the thing by whether.
Yeah, comment down below if you stayed this long. You know that thing like people put like a secret thing. Comment.
This isn't embarrassing technical error. This is actually a fun audio Easter egg.
It's a test. What's the quote? Friends. What's the quote that we're going to use as a title?
For this one.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, what was it? It was
something.
Wasn't it? It was lung cancer, homosexuality, and crabs, right?
Right. So and then the other one that we're thinking of was the little girls one, right?
Yeah, that seems a bit racy.
What was that one?
It was money, power, and little girls to molest.
Okay, so if you're still here, comment money, power, and little girls down below.
Yeah. we'll know you're a real one.
We know you're a real fan.
We can call our fan base the Kiddie Diddlers, and that'll.
Oh, let's not call them the Kiddie Fiddlers. Jesus Christ. No.
Right, so we were talking about our mutual hatred for the curtains are fucking blue meme.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say. I think your hatred,
my hatred,
kind of
dislike,
my sort of indifference to it, where I think it has a point, but it also doesn't have a point. Like, he goes too far. I think there's a point to be made about you can't overanalyze everything.
It's a valid
sometimes,
point, but it's clearly coming from the perspective of someone who is 15 years old.
Exactly.
Has just been told that books sometimes have themes in them, and
exactly.
unwilling.
Like sometimes, sometimes maybe more with like films and stuff rather than books, but sometimes the curtains are just blue.
Yeah.
They're just blue curtains. But sometimes the curtains are blue for a reason.
Well, I suppose
So,
to go on a massive fucking tangent, like in a film, there's a lot more stuff that can be shown unintentionally, as it were, or without
yeah,
great
that's true.
thought. Whereas anything mentioned in a book has to have been like specifically
It
chosen
has
to
to
be
been
mentioned.
thought
So there
about.
has
That's
to.
true. But I think even if it's been thought about, it doesn't mean it has a big.
I mean, I
grand,
suppose even in
like,
a film, like the set designer is still going to have looked at the curtain.
Exactly.
Like, well, it should be
Exactly.
blue or not. Even if it's just like blue looks nice.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Anyway.
So Harry's Great Rebellion, in the context of
Yeah.
this thing, he despises the establishment. He rises up against them and says, "No, Scott Fitzgerald was straight, you nasty man." In many words. So I thought one of the slightly weirder things about this, as a sort of rise up against the establishment moment, is that like the establishment viewpoint in this scene regarding the Great Gatsby is like kind of unconventional. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
seems like
it sounds like it is incredibly conventional though,
it's not.
because it sounds like everyone knows that. Like
Well,
I looked it up, and there was this guy like, I just found out that this guy's gay. And
What, Nick
everyone's known
Carraway,
it
or
forever.
because that's Scott
Yeah.
Fitzgerald? Yeah, like I'm not saying it's not something everyone knows. It's just like
Yeah.
I would maybe in a modern context, I would expect the scene to be like, we know they're not gay, or something like that.
Yeah.
Just it's what I assume would be the progressive view that they're pushing and against.
I don't think he's rebelling against them because they're not progressive. I think
No.
it's just too much. I think it's too much for him. It's nothing to do with the actual view. Like it could literally be a different book, totally different thing.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I'm not denying
that.
that.
It was secretly written by a woman. Like, we were reading this Shakespeare text and it had this line in it, which was secretly written by a woman.
Oh yeah, like they were like, oh, we all know that like Shakespeare was actually Christopher Marlowe or something.
Exactly. And he's like, fucking, like it's. I don't think the rant has anything to do with
No,
what
it's just I thought it was an interesting choice. I suppose actually, like talking about that, like a choice which would have made more sense to me was if they were like, oh, we know Shakespeare didn't write this plays because he would have been illiterate or something like that. Like he couldn't have had that education.
Right.
Thing. Whereas I suppose just as a choice of view, to say like the hidden homosexual subtext in The Great Gatsby, I thought was an interesting choice. I guess I just chose it because it was funny. Perhaps this is a bad thing to say after I just railed against that meme, but maybe I am analyzing it.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe it was just a point that the guy wanted to make. I don't know. The director, we've not talked about him.
No, who is it?
Richard Rush.
Do I know him?
Probably not. I looked him
name.
up. He's got like 10 films or something on Google Films or whatever.
That's a decent career.
His most famous one seems to be called The Stuntman, from like 10 years later. Never heard of it.
Nah.
Not seen it. But I didn't really. I don't know. I probably should have looked into him more. He's Canadian. I've just seen that. He's alive. He's 91 years old. He's alive.
Good for him.
Good for him.
Let's go up to his door, barge it down, and ask him why he chose The Great Gatsby as his.
We could do. Yeah, he seems to all of his film posters seem to be the same as your green getting straight one.
Ugh.
Like there's this film called Psych Out, which is like a bunch of pink stuff and like some woman in a bikini cut out and a bunch of animals, and they all seem to be much the same poster basically. Well, talking about that poster, that doesn't. There seems to be another poster. Have you seen the other one? It's like
I have
orange.
not seen the other one. Orange.
It's like orange, and it says "Americans' children laid on the line," and it's a lot more sort of conservative and normal. Normal? Maybe that's the wrong word, but you know what I mean. It's a lot more
standard. I guess it's the exact same thing as normal.
Yeah. The other thing that comes up when you look up Getting Straight is the shot through her legs.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That is.
I quite like that shot
from The Graduate,
cool
isn't it? Basically.
Yeah, you're right. It is in The Graduate. When did The Graduate come out? Before this, right?
I think Graduate's the late 60s, right? I think it is.
Yeah, 1967.
Yeah, so it's just a rip-off
I
of the
guess
shot from The Graduate.
It's a rip-off. Well, it's not exactly the same, but it's similar.
The shot of The Graduate is supposed to emphasize Mrs. Robinson's legs, whereas the shot in this film is very much supposed to emphasize the vagina. So
it's pretty funny. I find it very funny that he's like.
I guess it's really more.
It was a funny.
Yeah, a reference.
It was a funny thing.
It's a reference, not a rip-off. What do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's a reference. It was funny. He was like trying to focus on what he was saying, and it was like a funny little thing.
So so after that he goes out. He joins the student protest. He says to his lady love that he doesn't belong with them. He belongs here, and she says that she didn't marry the doctor because she didn't like him, which is like
Exactly.
reason not to marry someone. Something.
And they all live happily ever after, constantly arguing
In the
because she
middle
wants to
of
get
it.
married.
And
he
they all
doesn't,
got
and
married at the age of 22 and regretted
Yeah.
it for the rest of their lives.
22, super late. They were super old when you got married.
Both old maids.
A pair of old maids getting married. Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah.
what did you think of the film overall?
I quite liked it. I enjoyed it. I didn't think it made any particularly huge points about much, but it certainly had that kind of aspect to it. It was relatively funny. The cast was pretty good. I liked it. It was good.
I would have said the exact opposite. I thought it. See, the thing is, like I say, the first 40 minutes or so are just deathly boring. I don't think I'd watch it again, just because of that. Maybe I'd enjoy it more knowing what it's leading to. But once it started introducing its more political elements, and once it really started digging into sort of Harry's struggle as a character and sort of the world that constrains him at every turn, I did find it a much more enjoyable film. By the end, I was really enjoying myself. I think the last, not to keep doing like a weird timing thing, but I think the last half hour or so in particular is really both very funny and very powerful. Yeah.
Okay, we're back. I'm also on my phone. I'm recording on my phone as well as my computer.
Yeah, Duncan had another audio issue. Please note that I have not had any audio issues throughout this podcast.
Yes, we've lost like 16 minutes of chat.
So
I think where we got to was like our final thoughts on the film.
Yeah, we both like the film. We wouldn't recommend that anyone go out of their way to see it, but we quite like it.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty much it. I don't know. I mean, I guess some of your audio might be saved, so it might be that mine cut off after my review, and then we have yours as well. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll try.
The people
we've reached the point where we don't really care anymore, so we're just going to blitz through.
We're going to blitz through what we talked about. So
if you make it this far, you can comment. Jamie and Duncan don't care about the show anymore. They are not giving the fans what they need.
You can do that. That sounds like a good plan. So I think the first thing we talked about was the mixed response that it seems to have on
it has a very
websites.
Mixed critical response.
Viewers response, everything.
Because it's fine. Why would anyone truly hate it unless they disliked the youths?
Exactly. My Audacity has already stopped recording. So this is all going to be my phone. So apologies for the quality drop. Quality, I don't know, might be better quality. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's a good test.
Duncan is bad at using Audacity. This is the only lesson that anyone needs to take from this.
Man, don't. We need to pretend we're using like a professional podcast software. Okay, so
Duncan's dropped his mic in our professional recording studio into his Golden Talkies branded coffee mug.
Exactly.
What a wacky thing. Hopefully, Lisa, our assistant, will be able to get him a replacement.
Lisa. Yes. What is it? Can you fucking get me on the mic, bitch? No, I don't treat women like that. That's terrible. That is how Harry from the film treats women, though.
It is
a little bit. Okay.
Very well.
No, I'm sorry, Lisa. Oh, that's all right. Don't worry about it. Okay, so
she actually pays us to work here.
So I hopefully we have got a review of the film down, and yeah, we're a bit confused about why there's such a mixed response. But I guess it's you either love it or hate it, you know. So, we then talked about the headlines from the time, or the news stories and notable stuff that was going on at the time. And the first one I brought up was that Quebec from Canada.
Yeah, that one.
Right, he's writing in from Canada. The province in Canada is a province, right? Area in Canada.
It's a province.
Had elections the week before the film came out, and the pro-Union party won. The pro-Canada party won.
Which is very different from the last election, in which the pro-independence party won.
Indeed, and then we had a conversation about Quebecan independence, Quebec. Whatever independence.
Yeah. Duncan is more skeptical about it.
I am more skeptical of it. I watch a YouTuber called JJ McCulloch, who I started watching quite recently, and he has pretty strong opinions about it, and I kind of agree with him. That they kind of seem to want independence for independence sake, but they don't want to have to do anything. Like, they want all the benefits of being Canada without any of the problems that come with it. It's kind of like Brexit.
I'm more sympathetic because they do operate like.
Because you're a radical.
And I'm a radical.
Sort of independence movement.
I'm that student in the film who says, "Come here, piggy, piggy, piggy," and then karate chops.
No, he kung fu kicked him, man.
Kung fu kicks him, sorry.
straight through him. So yeah, that was, and you were in Canada obviously
I
for
wasn't.
a year. You spent a
So
year
I
in
have
Canada.
expert advice.
You've
on
expert.
that.
You've been to Quebec. You've seen all the French signs.
Exactly. And
Man,
I'd be
I wish the recording hadn't stopped because we had a proper conversation about this.
Yeah, I'm sure
I'll-
people like podcasts when they just sort of rail through the subject.
That's why you listen to them, isn't it?
Yeah, isn't it?
Like
You
it's
just
not
want
supposed to be. It's
bullet
not supposed to be
point
like
information.
exactly. It's not supposed to be like a relaxing background conversation. It's supposed to
Yeah,
be
no
like
one wants to hear fucking discussions. They want to hear opinions, diluted,
opinions,
context free,
poorly formed opinions that are
by people
no
who do not
context.
know what they're talking about.
We don't know what we're talking about, but yeah. So that's a Quebec thing. That was
yeah.
interesting.
So we talked a bit about the political background at the time. Obviously, Britain's sort of to set the groundwork for most films set in the 70s. Britain's Harold Wilson's government
yeah,
very entrenched in the post-war consensus.
yeah.
Good old socialism.
And Jamie, why were they defeated?
That's a fun mystery, which we will find out as we go along. Yay!
Oh, I thought we were gonna. Okay, well, yeah, okay.
Oh, right. No, what was the reason they were defeated? I forgot.
Because England lost to West Germany in the World Cup quarterfinals.
Oh yeah. There you
Apparently, according to Wikipedia, and then the BBC article that they'd cited said nothing of the sort. Really, it just mentioned it might have been a slight thing. But anyway,
Yeah.
so the reason that we were talking about that was because we were talking about what songs were number one at the time this film came out.
It was Back Home.
Back Home by the England World Cup squad was number one in the UK.
And then in
much
America, it was ABC by Jackson 5, which what's the other? There's a song like that sounds identical. I want to complain about it now.
Oh shit, you're right.
Yeah. Give me one more chance. Oh baby, give me one more chance.
Show me that you love me.
I want you back. That's it.
I want you back. Yeah, they're very similar.
Yeah,
songs,
they sound
aren't
exactly the same. I hate it. I always get them confused.
Yeah. This is
Michael
true.
Jackson stole from himself and his four brothers. And
Yes,
should
indeed.
be ashamed.
Wait, but that is the Jackson 5 song as well, isn't it?
ABC's a Jackson 5 song. I Want You Back is the Michael Jackson song.
No, I Want You Back's the fucking Jackson 5 song. You
Oh, I'm sorry.
crazy man. Is it not?
Maybe. It probably is.
I think it is. I think they're just the same song. Yeah, I Want You Back is by the Jackson 5.
Alright, well,
Anyway, look at you.
Anyway, that ABC's number one.
Well,
Obese-
no, it was in the top 10. I
Top
didn't
10, sorry.
recognize what number one was.
Oh, right.
I just picked out notable ones to me.
we can
So it
talk
was
about
ABC. Spirit in the Sky was also in the top
Yeah.
10.
by the Guardians of the Galaxy 2 soundtrack squad.
By man, we're railing through this. This is a real shame. It's a real shame that the audio has been lost and that we can't be bothered pretending to discuss it again.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're doing it.
I'm
Spirit
hungry.
in the Sky by Guardians of the Galaxy was in the top 10, and Let It Be was in the top 10.
Yeah, this
And
is when the Beatles broke up. And
Exactly.
according Duncan said the film premiered this week.
The film
which
premiered in New
was
York
real-
today.
Yeah, today.
50 years ago.
50 years ago, which hopefully means that we can talk about it at some point because
Uh-huh.
I have opinions on the matter.
On the Beatles. And man, once again, I was about to say something, and I've lost my train of thought.
Forgotten, you disgusting wretch.
That's
Yeah.
terrible, man.
I'm sorry.
I literally was about to say something, and it's gone. So anyway, I think that was basically what we talked about.
Oh yeah, we're doing Brand X. That might be what you're trying
We're
to say.
doing, mate. Fucking put some effort in, man.
Sorry.
What are we doing next week, Jamie?
We're doing Brand X.
Brand X. Yeah, that's next week's.
That's a
thing.
comedy film about a band. There will probably be quite a lot of those because that's what people were into.
In 1970.
Mhm.
Right. Okay. So then we just had a conversation, and you know what?
Yeah.
If people
we're
want
gonna
to
skip
listen to us talk, they've heard the rest of the podcast, and
They've heard us
maybe
talk for an hour and a half. They've
maybe
got
maybe next week we'll incorporate
Yeah,
more of our
more
personalities into it. Maybe not. You know, it depends on how much of the film we had to talk about. We had a lot to talk about for the film this week. Maybe other
Yeah.
weeks we won't have so much about the film, and we can just talk about other stuff.
yeah.
Um,
Brand X is only an hour
so-
and a half long, so maybe there'll be less.
Exactly. So something
Mhm.
very, very quickly. Last point. 50 years ago, the days were the same. I think.
Oh, were they?
I think it was a Wednesday today.
Oh, wait, I'm actually going to look that up. To me, that is interesting. Wait.
I
no,
find
no,
it incredibly
sorry.
interesting. I might be wrong. I might just be making it up. Wednesday, May the 13th, 1970.
Wow. That's
So
a curio. That's an extra special Easter egg for anyone.
Well, Jamie,
idiot.
you know, it might not be. It might be that that's a thing that 50 years is the same day. Like we might just be the dumbest fucking guys.
I'm sure. I think it repeats every 6, 8, 7. We're done.
No, it repeats every 4 years, right?
4 years?
No, obviously not. That's
No, because 50 isn't a multiple of 4.
No, well, I'm thinking leap years is going to be
Like leap years are what's because like the week and the day move forward by 1 most years.
yes,
and then
it would be easy to work out without leap years,
without
but
leap
with
years.
leap years it makes it maybe okay.
Did you know they take leap seconds once every like 100 years or so or something?
Really?
Yeah, just like incorporate the extra because it's like a quarter and a bit.
Oh, I
like,
thought it was exactly a
figure.
quarter, like
No,
officially.
no, it's just like a tiny.
Right,
bit,
what
so-
am I looking up? How regularly do the days of a year repeat themselves? That's not going to.
That's a fun cliffhanger for next week. We'll work it out by
Okay,
then.
let's work out for next week. You're right. Okay, let's call it quits.
Let's call it a day.
I apologize for my audio issues. Hopefully this last 10 minutes is a bit
will have been
jumpy
the
and
best
shit.
part of the entire thing.
Is a bit jumpy and shit, but the rest of it hopefully has been entertaining. I hope you've
mildly
enjoyed.
Okay.
I hope you enjoyed Golden Talkies.
Yeah,
Oh, we had a
we're
whole
probably
bit about
gonna
that, didn't we?
Oh
Man,
yeah, we really want to change the name.
we might
can't
change
think of
it.
a better one.
You know what? You might be
Uh,
listening to this and you're like, why do they keep saying Golden Talkies? This is called Donkey and Jimbo
Something good.
chat shit for a bit.
That's Donkey's name for the podcast. I'm not a fan. I want to do something clever. But we
So we'll
far
see.
not.
We'll see. But
Because we
for
aren't.
now,
very-
for now, Golden Talkies is the name. We should wind up. I hope you enjoyed.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank
you for listening.
Now. Bye.
Watch Getting Straight. Watch
if you want
Brand
to.
X.
Or
watch Brand X
something
and
else
take notes.
on
for next
Netflix
time.
for free. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Should we plug where Getting Straight is available?
Oh, it's available on Amazon to rent
for
money.
£2.50.
Yeah. Honestly, don't. If you've got Amazon Prime, just watch something else.
That's true. If this film, if you can, okay, I think that's the recommendation system, right? This film,
Yeah.
if it's on TV, or if you get given a
It is
DVD of it,
genuinely quite
or it's
fun
on
and
some,
worth your
if it's
time.
on some streaming service, watch it. Don't buy it,
Yeah.
right?
don't-
I think that's the rating system.
Yeah. That's a good rating system.
You know, it's like so maybe we have like don't watch it. Watch it if it's on, like, or if someone offers.
Yeah.
Like
And
go out your way
actually
to
go out
watch
your way
it
to buy
if
it.
it's free. Rent it, or like I don't know, fucking.
Buy
Buy
the
it.
Criterion Collection.
I don't know what the
70
top
quid.
rating. I don't know what the top rating would be, but that's our unofficial rating system.
When we eventually get to Sallow.
Yeah. So thanks to today's sponsor, TakeMeBack.to.
They're really sponsoring us. We promise.
They're not. They're not. I
A
don't know.
million
I don't think.
pounds
I don't think you're supposed
each.
to say. I don't think you're supposed to say that people are sponsoring you when they're not. I don't think that's something you're supposed to do.
Duncan's
So-
lying. They are sponsoring us. I'm looking at my solid gold car right
Oh really?
now. Yeah. It's got
Okay.
a calendar on it because it's taking us back.
Right. Let's call it. That's good.
It's
Okay.
DeLorean.
Let's
Solid
call
gold
it. Let's
DeLorean.
call it a day. Let's say bye bye
Okay.
to
Bye
listeners.
bye.